Well, it's the next morning, and it's super peaceful in here, which is nice. The big power boat's already left, and I didn't have a really busy morning. I just kind of lazed around. And I think the tide's still coming up a little, so I'm going to go check out that little passage and see if we can get through to the lagoon, because the next high tide won't be till almost at dark. Well, it actually gets dark pretty late here right now. I don't think the sun was even set before 10:30 last night. It's near the end of June, and we get a lot of daylight up here this time of year. But I think it's coming in a little still, so this is exactly when I wanted to go in, check out the lagoon, and come out. And later on I'll go and see if there's those falls right at the start of them, like was mentioned in the sailing directions. So I think this is the optimum time to go through and or see if we can get through. I've never been in there, so we'll check it out and then come back. And with the tide lowering, there's not a lot of beaches here, but there's a couple we could check out once the tide goes down, but it is pretty close to high tide right now. And just a little bit of wind. It's not super warm right now, but just a very little breeze, a little light breeze, which is nice. Just enough to keep the bugs off the boat. Well, I've made it most of the way through the passage, but now I've hit some rapids, and the tide's still rushing in, as you can see. The lagoon is just in the distance there. So I think I'll wait till this levels out a little before I continue on through it. It's a bit rough. And this isn't a river, this is just the tide. It's still got to go up a little bit more, so I might be here for an hour or so. But that's okay, it's really peaceful in here. I saw a little mink or something, some sort of varmint scooting along the shore. Right actually where I had tied the ropes up. The painter, actually. You call the line that goes from the dinghy to the boat is called a painter. So, nautical lingo. Anyways, he went right up to the rope, and as soon as he saw me, he scooted right back into the woods. He was a pretty good size. And then I saw him a little further down the shore. I guess he was going around me instead of where I'd blocked his path. Sorry about that to him. And yeah, I'm just going to float around here. I'll just keep watching the tide line on the shore and see where it's at, and then and watch the falls. If they flatten out and then I still see more tide line, that's good for me, as long as the current isn't super strong, flooding in. And then I'll see what I can do then. I'm going to keep watching out for more of those little critters. Hopefully no big critters. That's always a worry in this part of the country, of the world. There's lots of grizzlies and black bears and wolves. And they're all carnivores. So I'm always a little bit cautious of checking things out when I'm going ashore. Like grassy areas right now aren't the best because the grizzlies and black bear are grazing on that stuff this time of year. And there's a patchy, nice, really grassy area over there, so I didn't want to go too close to it. It's a bit early for salmon runs. I don't think salmon would go into here. It's just a lagoon, so not worried about that. But when you are at the mouths of rivers coming into the ocean, that's another spot you got to be careful. There's when the fish are running up the rivers, you'll certainly see bears there. Anyways, the main reason I got away from the shore was because of the bugs, the smallest of them all. Well, the rapids aren't nearly as bad as they were earlier, and I'm just going to drift through them. So this will give me a little more time on the other side to see what's happening, and I'm just going to drift through and then drift out. I don't know how shallow it is, but we're just starting to go through it now. I better pull the motor up. So this is inside the lagoon. It is very big. And here I am going through the narrows now, the other direction. It didn't take long for that current to turn, and it's already flowing back out. So it'll just keep getting faster and faster as the tide drops and the lagoon empties. And those rapids that I was watching earlier, flowing the other direction, are now flowing out. So it's a good time to leave because it'll just get faster and faster, and I don't want to get caught on the other side and have to go through a lot of rapids. There's looking back out, or towards, sorry, the lagoon. And this is looking out. And I'm gonna have to row a bit to the right, I think, because I don't want to get caught on that rock there. There we go. Flowing pretty good now. Oh, I see, there's a bunch of rocks there. So that's not a good spot to motor through. It's probably a bunch of rocks here. Yeah, there's some. I see the tide is down a little bit, and I thought I would go and take a peek in there, see what those rapids look like, if I can get to them. And if I see it go down a lot more, then I will go back again later. But I'm not sure. There's two tide cycles in a day. One's large and one's smaller. And I didn't actually look to see if we're in the smaller cycle right now of the day. But there's definitely a lot more shoreline exposed. So I thought it'd be worth going in there. It's really quiet. I've seen a couple boats go up Grenville Channel, but otherwise it's just very nice and peaceful in here, and it's pretty warm. It did warm up. I was a bit overdressed earlier, but it was a little cooler when I first left. So anyways, I'm gonna go and check that out. So I've made it all the way up to the Narrows. I guess the tide drops faster than the lagoon can empty, obviously, because that's a lot of water to empty out of there. It's like a river. It's all salt water. And you're not getting in there now. Well, that was fun to see those Narrows. It's like a waterfall now. Hard to believe there's that much movement in the tides. I mean, I know there is, but when you see it like that, where I just went through a little while ago and now I'm faced with a waterfall there. This is why I didn't want to stay in the lagoon very long, because I would have had to go over that if I stayed in too long. Or, well, I wouldn't have. I would have had to wait for the next high tide, because at low tide you're not going to get over that. Anyways, that's pretty interesting. I'm just slowly getting pushed out. I may just drift along and get pushed out to the bay. It'll take a little bit. It's much faster current over there, but now it's slowed down, but I'm still getting pushed out. It's very nice in here. Definitely come check this out if you're passing by through Grenville Channel. It's just at the north end of Grenville Channel on the east side. And worth stopping and poking in. Even if you don't go into the lagoon, just to see the falls here is interesting. Well, it's a little later in the day, and I never did make it back to the falls. I kept watching the shoreline, and it just didn't go down much further, so it would have looked pretty much the same as what I saw earlier. It's clouded over a little bit. It's still warm, but a little bit of a breeze. 2 other boats came in, a sailboat and a trawler type cruising boat. And I haven't really done a lot this afternoon. It's been sort of cleaning up a little bit, sorting some things out, but I figured I could be doing that stuff back at the marina, or I could be doing it at a cool anchorage on the coast here. So yeah, life goes on. You still got to do that stuff, but why not do it in a nice, peaceful place like this? Maybe I'll read a good book, or maybe watch a movie. I have a bunch of movies on a zip drive. I'm sure I can find a classic to rewatch. And I think that'll be it for the day. It's already, I think it's about 7:30 p.m. It's dark about 10:30, 10:45, actually almost 11 before it's really darkening up. So we get some long days here in the north, which is good for cruising. I'm not sure what I'll do tomorrow. I might stay another day, or maybe I'll move to a new spot a little closer to Prince Rupert. But I'll check the weather in the morning and see what the wind is doing and if it's sunny or rainy. So I don't have to be back for a couple days. And I could just do a straight shot from here to Rupert, or cut it in half and stop somewhere else on the way.
Flame units only come on rifle slot. Sir, just do it, Sergeant. And no grenades.
All right, sweethearts, you heard the man. Pull him out. Come on, let's have him. Come on, man.